All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to We're Facebook Live, and here with my guy, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and welcome to yet another episode of It's Me Speaking to You. I'm, as always, your ever-faithful host, Mr. Jeffrey Wilson, coming to you live and always direct from the gateway to the West, St. Louis, Missouri, and like I said, we are here. Man, this is his, I believe, your fifth time, bro. This is, you have appeared on the show more than I believe anybody. Your fifth appearance, rather. And we're going to talk a lot, man. We're going to talk about that whole NYC experience. We're going to talk that epic battle, brother. The epic battle.
Yes.
That was you and Tyron freaking Wonderboy, or you and Tyron Woodley, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. How you doing, my man?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Glad to just got back into Simpsonville, South Carolina. I was up at the fights this past weekend up in Toronto. Had a blast, man. So it's been nonstop go after the fight.
Always. Wait, you sound like you said you got a little cold there coming from doing a little bit of traveling.
Yeah, man. I found out today my throat was a little itchy last night, man. Got strep throat, come to find out. So I'm trying to get the antibiotics in me and get healed up so I get back into training real quick.
Well, that's what's up, man. So before we get into that battle, man, you guys made history in a whole other way, obviously. Cracking that egg, which is NYC, hit Madison Square Garden. I mean, I love that whole setup, man. The countdowns, the embeddeds, that was just really, really awesome to see. For you personally, someone who experienced it, what was all of that like, man? That whole week, how was that whole experience like, man?
You know what? It wasn't really till after I got back home where I could sit back and just kind of like soak in everything that went on that week. You know, you had, the press conference with, Conor McGregor picking up the chair. I mean, just the whole hype around it. I mean, the people, the fans were amazing. You literally walked around like a movie star. I mean, everybody was coming up to you, asked for autographs and, and pictures. And it was just really, really cool experience just being there, part of Madison Square Garden, sharing the octagon with Chris Weidman. Of course, all the other legendary fighters. And just walking through MSG was unbelievable. Just knowing that, all the people in history who just legendary performers and athletes have walked through these halls, and it was just super cool week.
Yeah, man, Ali, Frazier, the WrestleManias, I mean, you just name it. That would just be surreal in itself. Like, I've never been to Madison Square Garden, so that in and of itself would have been pretty amazing, man. And speaking of that press conference, I shot you a text when it was going down. You are a pro, my man. You were sitting next to Conor McGregor losing his mind, and we're just sitting there with a smile on your face, just soaking it up, man. That was so cool to see, man. You kept this kind of, you totally kept your composure, man. That was so sweet.
Yeah, man, it was really cool, man. I was just glad to be just like front row to see all that stuff. I'm pretty sure I almost got kicked in the face when Dana White grabbed him and like slung him around, man. It was really cool, dude. Just seeing all of that, being on the same card as that, it was just we were all making history.
It was,
and
quite historic.
We were all making history. It was I think the biggest gate in MSG history. It was just unbelievable, man. And just made it over the top. Having Conor McGregor on the card was super cool too, because he's actually a really nice guy. I don't know if you've ever met him or not, but
I haven't.
He's actually a really nice guy. But man, when that camera's on and people are sitting there, he knows how to go out there and put on a show. Let me tell you.
He's a pro addict, man. Like we talked about the Conor McGregor effect, and I was born and raised on professional wrestling, so I mean he could easily, he'd easily cut a promo on anybody in the world of professional wrestling. What are your thoughts on that result, man? That was, talk about making history. That was all very historic. I mean, what he's doing to his opponents, Aldo. Obviously he had to battle with Diaz a couple times, but I mean, he's making it look easy with champions. What's going on with McGregor? Is he the truth or what?
Nah, dude, he definitely is. I mean, yeah, he does talk a lot, but man, he can back it up. That's what the media, that's what the UFC wants. Just to think of it, a few years ago he was living out of his car, and now he's one of the highest paid athletes in the world right now at this moment. And all I can say is hats off to that guy. I mean, much respect, and a lot of people look down on people who are successful, but man, this guy's come a long way, and he's doing it, man. I'm proud of the guy.
Well, in our first chat, man, and even my first chat with Pat Milicic, man, we talked about that Conor McGregor effect and what it's doing to the sport, if you remember that conversation, and everyone was kind of on the fence because it can taint it a bit because it's not WWE, but even he says himself, man, he talks, but he backs it up. That's I don't know, man. People need to start being able to up their dollars and their marketability, man, and start cutting promos a little better. Because as we've seen, man, that's the rankings don't matter anymore, brother. And it's just like, I don't know.
It is true. It is true, man. And you're starting to see that, and I was kind of worried about, especially for the Tyron fight, if that wasn't even going to happen, even after he beat Robbie Lawler because of that. So champions are, it's really not who's up in line next. It's who's going to fill the seats, who's going to put more money in their pockets, and that's the way it goes. The sport is changing, and I think it's the best for the fighters too, just because it all trickles down and everybody's getting paid more. So I think it's a good thing.
And that's true, man. The whole rising tide raises all ships type thing. And it's kind of interesting, man, how that last fight with you and Tyron played out, because you were not the biggest, talker in the world, but that almost worked in your favor, brother. If you remember how all that, the social kind of media storm, because Tyron kind of talked himself into a corner. He kind of spoke a little too soon about the super fights, and everyone was like, whoa, pump the brakes, my friend. You have a gentleman by the name of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson who's been chomping at the bit for a minute. So, I mean, that kind of took on a life of its own, and really, Tyron had to really backpedal off any kind of super fight talk and stare you right in the face and be like, you know what, you are next in line.
Right. Thanks to the fans, like I said, and everybody out there actually supporting, rallying up behind me to make this thing talk. And like you said, he did kind of talk himself into a corner, because I know he was talking back to getting into, Twitter bashes with some of the followers, talking trash. I think it did kind of help because it hyped the fight.
It did.
But it was kind of for his sake. It was kind of bad because they kind of turned him almost into the bad guy for this past fight. But man, I think a lot of people.
Which you need for a good rivalry. You need like wrestling terms, you need a good heel, you need a good baby face, and you are baby face supreme, my man. So it's just like you gotta have the heel. That just puts more butts in the seats, talking Madison Square Garden. Somebody you just mentioned, man, in this whole conversation, we still haven't even gotten to the fight yet, but in this whole conversation of Tyron and even after your fight with Tyron and all of this, there is a name that's still been I haven't heard it much, man, and I don't know. What do you think's up with Robbie Lawler? Where's he at in this whole equation? I haven't heard him talked about much.
You know what? To be honest with you, me either. I don't know. He did take the loss really, really, really well. A lot of people thought he was, after that loss and the way he lost, he was just going to try to drop, kind of like, give up or quit or whatever. But he took it well. He did all the media and told everybody what was up. Tyron definitely beat me. He won, blah, blah, blah. But after that, he just was, there was nothing about him. I mean, right. There was no talk about a rematch. There was nothing, So to be honest with you, I don't know where that is. I know Dana had mentioned to me if before the UFC 205, he was like, man, you and Robbie would be a really good fight. But that was the last thing I heard about him. There's nothing on social media right now.
Yeah.
The only thing, I think the last thing was when Donald Cerrone was supposed to fight him, but I think he ended up getting injured. Robbie Lawler ended up getting injured, so they put who did he fight at UFC 205? I forgot.
Donald Cerrone.
Donald Cerrone, that's right. Yeah. Who did Donald Cerrone?
Oh yeah, I'm not sure who did he fight.
He was supposed to fight. He was supposed to fight Gastelum, right?
Was that what it was? And Gastelum didn't make weight.
Yeah.
And then Gastelum just knocked out Tim Kennedy last weekend. Man, that was devastating.
Crushed him.
What are your thoughts on that?
Did you?
I did.
Man, he's a monster. He does. I mean, I think he could do very well at 185. Not really sure where he can go. I mean, he says he can make weight at 170, so we'll see what.
Do you know where he came from?
About that.
He was the least experienced, youngest on the Ultimate Fighter, like the lowest ranked, last picked, and he won the Ultimate Fighter. And I would tell people, my biggest brother personally, I was like, man, watch out for Kevin Gastelum. If he can keep his stuff together, that dude's a beast.
Oh yeah, man, he's durable. He's a big 170. I mean, look what he did to Tim Kennedy. You know what I mean? I mean, he weathered the storm in the very first. Tim Kennedy's a big dude, very strong.
Yeah.
And he's kept his composure. He's very calm out there. He's had some fights, staying pretty frequent. So, you don't have to worry about that, cage rust when he's out there. He's just very calm and collective fighter, man. And I thought he did great. We have actually a good relationship. We were both sponsored by Bad Boy back in the day. Back in the day, I mean, a few years ago.
Yeah.
But So, we had the privilege of hanging out and talking. He's a really cool dude too, but man, he is a monster.
Yeah, without a doubt. He was Pat and I are trying to get him actually on the show I was speaking to you about before we went on the conspiracy farm. Yeah, he's like I think former special forces or former military high up, man. So he's definitely a bad dude. Speaking of that card, man, Matt Brown, man, rough one, took a big L against Cowboy Cerrone. This guy, Cowboy, is just on a tear. What he did to who was that? Was that no, it wasn't Rafael Dos Anjos.
Cote, he beat Patrick Cote. Just I think he finished Patrick. Rich Story, he crushed Rich Story, ended up knocking TK on him. And Matt Brown, he's moving up, man.
He's on a tear.
He's 155er. Yeah, and I think he's another one of those guys who just stays very calm no matter what. He got knocked down, I believe. I don't remember which round it was fighting Matt Brown, but he got back up, brushed it off, man, and ended up finishing Matt Brown off with a head kick. I was sitting in the front row, and I called it. I was like, you watch. He's gonna knock Matt Brown out with a lead leg round. He's already hit him a few times and staggered him once, and I just knew he was going to finish him with a head kick.
And it's interesting because him and several other current fighters and former fighters have just created that mixed martial arts association or some facsimile of a union. What are your thoughts on that, man? That was a pretty interesting news development this past week.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I haven't read into it at all, to be honest with you. And I was focused on healing up after the fight. Of course, I had a lot of things going on right after that, going to the UFC 206 and some things up in New York that we had to do, me and Chris were doing with Thompson magazine. So I haven't really read into it, but I don't know, man. I hear that they're there for the fighters' sake, to fight for them. I know George St. Pierre, I think. That was another, yeah. Verdum, is it Verdum that's part of that?
I don't think so. I can't think of them.
I'm not really sure who's all part. Okay.
Yeah. I know Cerrone's a part of it, and I just know he's still a part of the UFC, which I found interesting because, that's, obviously something Dana's not too stoked on, so, And they're even talking about him fighting in like 6-7 weeks, so it's like he's still active, obviously, on the roster, so it hasn't diminished his status with the company.
Right. Well, I think he's in one of those exciting fighters, man. He's a character out there.
Absolutely. So. Cerrone and his Budweiser. Well, check it out, man. We're going to move. Oh, and so speaking about Robbie, and that's what I was thinking. So after, obviously the result of the Tyron fight was whatever the unanimous draw, which obviously you can't be too stoked about because that doesn't bring you home the gold. I'm just trying to, with the way I know the UFC is, and they were already talking Conor Tyron, which I don't see that happening at all because Conor's just got too much money to be made on another Nick fight, etc. I could see them, even though they said it, not giving you the rematch and doing you like a possible Robbie fight, which I would definitely be down to see, or like a Maya. I mean, none of that I know you're trying to hear because you didn't lose. You shouldn't be in a step down position. You should be in a rematch position or almost nothing, right? Is that kind of your psychology on it?
Well, yeah, man. I mean, there was no winner there. So you might as well just say we didn't even fight, to be honest with you. And Tyron said even before he started calling out Nick, we have unfinished business we have to attend to, and my management company's working on it. They've got back with me, looking at hopefully late February, early March, maybe the UFC 209. We'll be fighting Tyron, but you know what? I'm not the guy to really step back and wait, for a long time for a fight. You've seen some fighters do in the past. I want to stay active, to be honest, and. If they absolutely possibly just say no, I'm going to have to fight somebody else. And Robbie Lawler is a really tough opponent. Does
that make sense? Man, if there was a next one, doesn't that seem like that would be, because Myers, I think, is third or fourth. Like Robbie, you're one. I think Robbie's two. Like if there was going to be another one, not Tyron, Robbie seems the most logical option. Yeah, man. I mean, yeah. In my opinion, it does. It does, but of course I'm sitting there rallying and want to get that rematch. That rematch. And yeah, we got unfinished business, and
And we're going to go out there, and hopefully we'll be doing that late February or early March. So we'll see.
Well, and that's what I texted. Again, I blew up your text after the fight. I'm like, if people didn't know you, brother, they know you now, because I'm telling you, I live in an apartment, and during that fourth round, during that guillotine choke, man, I'm losing my mind, and the neighbor above me stomping on the floor, because it's like, whatever, midnight or 11:30 when the fight's on. So, yeah, that was, let's get into it, man. That was your opportunity of a lifetime. You definitely seized the moment, my man. What was, you guys finally locked horns, man. That was fight of the night. That was amazing. What are your thoughts on that epic battle, brother?
You know, obviously I didn't come after the win, so it was kind of, I was disappointed, but, I learned a lot from that fight. And of course, after that, I gained a lot of respect from a lot of people and gained new fans from that. But, yeah, man, first round, I was trying to, trying to ninja his brain a little bit. I was going to throw a low leg kick and just to see where his hand went, because the second one was definitely going to go to the head. But if he didn't catch that low leg kick, ended up taking me down. But on the ground, in those clinch positions, he felt very strong, very strong. And I think that had a lot to do with, where I was at in my weight. I was walking around light. I was about 182, and I only rehydrated back up to 178, so I only gained 8 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So I know Tyron was probably back up to close to 200, and he felt it. So, we were going to go back to the drawing board and probably walk around and put a little bit more weight on. It's a little bit more of a dramatic cut, but it's going to be worth it when I step out there in the octagon against Tyron. Got to be bigger. So I definitely felt that. But the second round, he nicked me in the first round with a short elbow, cut my nose, and I couldn't see hardly anything going into the second round because I had blood still in my eyes. But I felt fine, man. I just tried to pick him. First, second round, fourth round, I felt really flat. He ended up I saw my punch coming. I just took it to the face, man. I was like, I just took it to the face. And to be honest, I don't remember a whole lot of that fourth round. I remember coming to really in that guillotine and it being tight. And it's the craziest thing, which you think about in there in the fight. And I was literally talking out loud, just like this. I'm like, in the guillotine, I was thinking to myself, I thought to myself, and I was like whispering, and I was like, all these people came to watch me fight. I'm not tapping. This is a title fight. I'm not tapping.
On your shield, baby, on your shield.
I know, man. I was like, I'm not doing it. And as soon as I said that, I could feel his arms start loosening up. So I kind of sat there, postured up, got my composure, and tried to burn his arms out a little bit. My head ended up popping out, and that was it. And I was like, come up on top swinging. And fifth round, it was like I could have gone 3 more rounds after that fifth round. I felt great, but you know what?
That fifth round, you look like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. That fifth round, that next fight, brother, I want to see 5 rounds of that fifth round because you were light on your feet, tagging them. You were doing your thing in that. I mean, the whole fight you were doing your thing, but it looked like even through all of that adversity, brother, that fifth round you did look super fresh. Let me ask you, man, that definitely he definitely took you down and caught that first kick. I think wasn't maybe your first kick, but did that create a little bit of tentativeness? Were you a little gun shy, throwing those kicks and stuff after he caught that first one?
Yes, it did actually after the first round because I felt how strong he was. I didn't want to get in that clinch position again because I felt him. I got heavyweights. I got guys who fight at 205 and that I can move and escape out of, on the ground. But he just felt so solid. And of course he's got a great wrestling pedigree and he's got a great top game. Very good control on top, but I was like, I don't want to end up back there again. So, yeah, man, I did was very hesitant to throw my kicks. Didn't throw the kicks I really wanted to throw, and my angles, obviously, I didn't work on. I don't know, man. I just felt really hesitant everywhere out there for some reason, and so I think the next fight, you're going to see a different Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and I'm itching the bits to go out there and do it again.
Well, and that's the perfect attitude to have. I mean, I have it the same way, man. It's never a failure. It's a learning opportunity. It's go back to the drawing board, and then it's never. He might have won the battle, but he has not won the war of sorts. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So man.
He
had an interesting, and I know you talked about it. I found it odd that considering you were such an effective counter striker, that he would do the whole back against the wall thing or back against the cage. At first, what did you? Obviously, he said he did that on purpose to try to explode out or whatever, which I would never want to just explode out on somebody like you, being a great counter striker. What do you think of that tactic to go stay against the cage like that? Did you think that was? What do you think about that?
No, it was kind of weird. I kind of knew he was going to do that. I've seen him do that in the past. So I knew he was waiting to explode in, which is why when I got into the cage, I just kept, kind of like flinching to get him to actually come at me. So, but when he didn't, I just had to throw my hands. Wasn't trying to overcommit on the punch, which I think on some of those strikes I really could have landed those strikes a little bit harder. But I wasn't overcommitting because I didn't want to run into it. Like you saw in the fourth round, I ran into his right hand, and I think that was that one opportunity he was really waiting for, and he ended up hitting me with it. So, yeah, I knew he was going to do it. I didn't know he was going to do it that much, but he did it pretty much the entire fight.
That right, man, and that what he got Robbie with. I mean, that lead overhand or that right he goes with, man, is just that the guy. I can only imagine how strong he is. I don't know if you know who C.T. Fletcher is, but yeah, he.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he. It's crazy. It's interesting after that guillotine choke because there was so much conversation about Tyron, his stamina in the later rounds. And I was, after he didn't get that guillotine choke, I was like, he's got to be done for. Because I knew he was probably tired leading up to that. And then blowing his arms out and still having another round to go. I was pretty impressed at how he still hung in there in that fifth round, being how, jacked he is. Because there's that conversation about how muscle, the muscle needs more oxygen. You know what I'm saying? So I was pretty impressed with how well he hung in there. But yeah, that fifth round, brother, you definitely were picking him apart like a champ, and a couple of them kicks landed. Wow, a rematch, dude, a rematch.
We gotta get it, man. We gotta get it. I mean, now we got fight of the night, and you know what? We could definitely do that again. I'm all about putting on a show and testing myself against really tough opponents. I mean, he's the best. He's a champ for a reason, man. And that's why I want that rematch again. I mean, we have unfinished business. Nothing really more
without a doubt
to say about it. We gotta do it.
And you created such a great impression on people, Steven. It's like you could almost just go silent again and let Tyron start talking about McGregor and everyone else and just almost let him hang himself again and just get put back in that same position. Seriously. Silent but violent. That's the way to do it.
Silent but violent. I love it. So
what does 2017 have in store for Steven, man? I mean, outside the octagon, inside the octagon, what do you got going on, man? 2016's been awesome for you. What do you got going on for the new year, my brother?
Well, you know what, man? Well, we got just enjoying the holidays. Obviously, back into training. I'm healed up. Not a whole lot of bumps and bruises, just my nose, and it looked a whole lot worse than really what it was. So just healing up and going back to the drawing board, working on some techniques, working on some things that we could have done better for that fight in UFC 205. But right now, enjoying the holidays, getting ready to go to Utah, doing some snowboarding, some snowmobiling with the family, relaxing. So yeah, we got plans, man, and I'm just enjoying every minute of it.
If that rematch, I mean, obviously you can't put a pin on it, but if that rematch does go down, like when are you kind of approximating when that might happen?
You know what? There are talks of it being in late February or early March. I think UFC 209, the one in Vegas, is the big pay-per-view card. So I think that's what they're shooting for. But if it's earlier, we can go earlier, man. I'm back into training, like I said, and it's in the business up out there again. So it's really up to the UFC and my management.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. And the UFC is obviously making very different moves and interesting moves now that the new ownership is in there. So I'll be anxious to see that, man. They could not deny the fans this one, brother. This one, like you said, unfinished business without a doubt. Before I let you slide, man, the magnificent, the most beautiful Miss Ronda Rousey will be making her return here in just a couple weeks. What do you think, man? I see a very different Ronda. What do you think about her chances against a very strong starter and striker, Miss Amanda Nunes?
Man, let me tell you, it is going to be a war because Ronda Rousey, I know she's got something to prove to herself, to the UFC, to the world, that she is, champion, that she can be champion again. But that said, I think she's going to be fighting the most versatile opponent that she's faced so far. I mean, she's got heavy hands. She's got good jiu-jitsu, good wrestling. This is going to be a very hard one to pick. I couldn't put my finger on it, to be honest with you. I don't know if you could, or if you have somebody that you possibly think was going to win that fight. But it's going to be awesome. Well, I'm really looking forward to it.
She's a strong starter, and I mean, I don't know how well Amanda goes into the later rounds. I'm thinking like from a psychological standpoint, I don't know Ronda, so I'm just literally talking out of my butt here. I just see a different person, and that loss, I'm not again a psychologist, but that loss I think did her so wrong. She didn't take it like you stated, like champions lose, like it happens. Like she set herself up so high to fall so far. It just,
oh man, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But that's something that she's used to doing. I mean, when she I don't know what kind of circle she has around her, or she has people that are positive in her life. Because I don't know, I'm not around her, and I know you aren't either. But I mean, when she lost the Olympics, I mean, she quit it. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's just a part of her. You know, she got silver. Yeah, she got silver, but she quit because she didn't get gold. You know, and this is just what people have said. And you kind of, but it kind of makes sense after that loss against Holly Holmes. You didn't hear from her, and you know it was the talk of her retiring.
I was thinking of killing myself. What?
Yeah, I'm like, what are you talking about? You lose one time. First off, for me, and I teach kids every day, but you have so many people around the world that look up to you like that, and see you. Is that the kind of message you want to put out there? Not at all, man. That's not me. And hopefully, I don't know, man. She's doing something about that, because that was kind of disappointing, to be honest with you.
And it really was. And literally, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't a judgment on Ronda. Anybody who invests so much in, identifying like, I am just a fighter. No, man, you got multiple different aspects of your life. Please don't just define yourself as just one aspect that you're really good at. I get it. You've dominated forever, but there's more to Ronda Rousey than just that. It's just like you said, there's so many young people looking at her and picking up on what she does and following her every move. I think that was just, I honestly, I appreciate and respect her frankness in even saying that. Like, she could have totally not said that and just not mentioned that she had suicide ideation, but being frank like that, it's definitely, there's some silver lining into that too. So.
Yeah, I agree, man. And you know what? For me, I look at it as, there's a higher calling there to be able to inspire people, to better themselves, or, to strive for your goals. And she's there, man. She was it, especially for females. She's the top of her game. She was, one of the highest paid athletes as well. And then go off and just do that. It was just like, man, what are you doing? I mean, there's somebody got to be in your circle that's going to smack you around and say, what the heck are you doing, man? You know what I mean?
Well, and good thing, like, time away is kind of, I know she probably lost her mind seeing Misha Tate, whom she really doesn't like, beat Holly Holm like that, and had to just like, what the fuck, what's going on right now? And then, the belt kind of just shifting around. I know that had to kind of stick in her craw, but I'll be anxious to see her come back. I've always been a big fan of Ronda. I just see her as she just seems different, obviously, from that loss. And we'll see how she responds, and I'll be hoping for the best, man. I
agree with you 100%. I agree, man. I agree.
Well, brother, man, you have been beyond. Like I said, this is your 5th time gracing us with your presence, brother. You have been so cool and gracious with your time. I wish nothing but the best. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you guys. Be safe out there on them slopes, brother. And all the best for 2017 for the Wonderboy family, the Thompson clan, and looking forward to that rematch, brother. Unfinished business.
Hey, man, thanks a lot, my friend, and we definitely do it again. Let's roll. I love being on the show with you. So
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so very much, Stephen. Ladies and gentlemen, top-ranked, number 1 ranked welterweight in the UFC, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, right here on the program. You guys be good. We will have more.